I never thought I'd be the guy writing one of these posts, but here I am at 3 a.m. staring at my phone because I can't sleep anymore. My wife and I have been together for 11 years, married for 7. We met in our 20s, built a life from nothing, survived bad apartments, bad jobs, and bad years. Everyone called us a solid, and honestly, I believed it. Lately, though, something felt off. Not in a dramatic, movie scene way, more like a quiet shift. She started guarding her phone, taking it into the bathroom, turning it face down on the table. She used to leave it anywhere. She stopped asking about my day, stopped touching me without a reason. And every time I asked if something was wrong, she'd smile and say, "You're imagining things. We're fine." I wanted to believe her. I really did. The first real crack came on a random Tuesday. She said she was working late again. 3rd time that week. I made dinner for 1 and tried not to spiral. Around 9:30 she texted, "Almost done, be home soon." But I accidentally saw her car at a restaurant across town. I was driving back from the gym, and there it was. Same bumper sticker, same dent, same plate, parked right outside a place she'd never mentioned. My chest went cold. I sat in my car across the street, like a creep, telling myself there had to be an explanation. Maybe she was picking up food. Maybe she met a coworker. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. Then I saw her walk out, laughing. Not tired. Not stressed. Laughing. With a man. His hand was on her lower back. I don't remember driving home. I just remember sitting on the edge of the bed when she finally walked in. At almost 11. She said, "Long night." I said nothing. She kissed my cheek. I smelled cologne that wasn't mine. When I asked where she'd been, she didn't even hesitate. Office. You know how it is. That's when I realized something terrifying. She was good at lying. Too good. And this wasn't the first time. It was just the first time I caught her in the light. After that night, I started paying attention in a way I never had before. Not paranoid. Just awake. The little things added up fast. She'd leave the room to take calls. She'd text with her back, turn to me. She suddenly had passwords on everything. One morning I reached for her phone to check the weather, and she snatched it out of my hand, like I grabbed something illegal. "Why are you touching my stuff?" she snapped. I laughed it off, but inside my stomach dropped. We never used to be like that. We were the couple who shared everything. Now I felt like I was living with a locked door. The worst part wasn't even the suspicion. It was the way she started rewriting reality. If I asked where she was, she'd say I was being controlling. If I said I missed her, she'd say I was needy. If I brought up how distant she felt, she'd tell me I was insecure. Somehow, every concern I had turned into a flaw in me. I started questioning myself. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe I was imagining things. That's what gaslighting does. It makes you doubt your own instincts. The actual discovery came in the most stupid, accidental way. Her laptop died one afternoon, and she asked to use mine. Later that night, when I opened it, her email was still logged in. I wasn't trying to snoop, I swear, but the first thing I saw was a draft. Not even sent yet. Just sitting there. The subject line said, "I can't wait to see you again." My hands went numb. I opened it. It was the same name I'd seen on her phone a few times and never asked about. She wrote about how she felt alive with him, how being with me felt safe but empty, how she hated lying but couldn't stop. I closed the laptop and sat there in the dark for a long time. No music, no TV, just me and the sound of my own breathing. I wasn't even angry yet. I was in shock. The woman I loved was living 2 lives. One with me, built on routine and history, and one with him, built on excitement and secrecy. When she came home that night, I didn't say anything. I just watched her move around the apartment like everything was normal, like she hadn't just written a love letter to another man. That was when I realized she could look me in the eyes and lie without flinching. And that scared me more than the affair itself. I didn't confront her right away, not because I was scared of the truth, but because I needed to understand how deep it went. Over the next few days, I watched her like a stranger. I noticed how she smiled at her phone, how she stepped outside to get some air and come back calmer, lighter, like she'd just talked to someone who made her feel seen. That wasn't me anymore, and that realization hurt more than any message I'd read. Then came the night she didn't come home at all. No text, no call, just silence. I stayed up until 2 a.m., refreshing my phone like an idiot. At 2:37, she finally messaged, "Stayed at a friend's." Phone died. It was such a simple lie, almost lazy. And that's what pushed me over the edge. Not rage, clarity. I knew I couldn't keep pretending. The next morning, I waited for her in the kitchen. I had the laptop open. The email draft pulled up on the screen. When she walked in and saw it, her face drained of color. She didn't ask what it was. She already knew. I said, "You want to tell me who he is?" She sat down slowly like her legs gave out. Then she started crying. Real tears. Loud sobs. She said she never meant for it to happen. That it just started as talking. That she felt lonely. Unseen. That I didn't fight for her anymore. I listened. Then I asked how long. She whispered, "Almost 8 months." 8 months. I'd been married to someone else for 8 months and didn't even know it. She swore they were done. That she'd block him. That she'd quit her job if she had to. Therapy. Counseling. A fresh start. Every promise came out fast, like she'd rehearsed them. I asked if she loved him. She hesitated. Then said, "I don't know." That pause destroyed something inside me. You don't hesitate about loving your husband if you still do. When I told her I needed space, she got angry, said I was abandoning her when she needed me most. That hurt. She cheated, and somehow I was still the one failing her. I went to sleep on the couch that night, feeling like a guest in my own life. Sleeping on the couch turned into a habit I never planned to have. It wasn't about punishment. It was about survival. Every time I lay next to her, my body tensed like it was waiting for impact. On the couch, at least I could breathe. She tried to act normal. Made breakfast. Asked if I wanted coffee. Touched my shoulder like nothing had happened. And every time she did, I felt this strange mix of anger and grief. I missed a version of her I thought I knew. But the woman standing in front of me felt like an actress playing a role I no longer believed in. She kept saying we could fix it. That people recover from worse. That I was giving up too easily. That line stuck with me. Too easily. As if staying in a lie was the brave option. One night she said, "If you really loved me, you'd fight for us." I looked at her and realized how twisted that was. I had been fighting alone for months. She had been fighting for someone else. I told her, "I did fight. You just didn't notice because you were busy with him." She went quiet. Not angry. Not defensive. Just empty. 2 days later, I found out she was still lying. Her phone buzzed while she was in the shower. I wasn't even trying to look. But the name showed up on the screen. His name, with a heart emoji. My chest felt like it collapsed inward. I picked up the phone and unlocked it. Same code she'd used for years. Inside were new messages. Recent ones. She'd told me she blocked him. She hadn't. She'd told me they were done. They weren't. She'd told him she missed him. That she felt trapped with me. That she wished she had the courage to leave. When she came out of the bathroom, wrapped in a towel, I was sitting there with her phone in my hand. She froze. I said, "You're still talking to him." She didn't even try to deny it this time. She just sighed and said, "You're invading my privacy." That's when something inside me snapped. Not in a loud way. In a quiet, final way. I told her, "You lost the right to privacy when you built a second life behind my back." She rolled her eyes. Actually rolled them. And that told me everything I needed to know. That night, I packed a bag. Not dramatically. Not angrily. Just calmly. Shirts. Jeans. My laptop. Charger. I walked past her while she stood in the doorway, crying and saying I was making a mistake. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I just left. And for the first time in weeks, the air outside felt easier to breathe. I stayed with an old friend for a while. Not because I had nowhere else to go, but because I needed a place where no memories lived in the walls. The first few nights, I barely slept. My brain kept replaying everything. The lies, the messages, the way she looked at me when she thought I didn't know. But slowly, something shifted. The pain was still there, but it was cleaner. It wasn't mixed with hope anymore, and that made it easier to carry. She called nonstop at first, angry voicemails, then crying ones, then calm, almost polite ones, like we were already strangers. I listened to one all the way through. She said, "You're really throwing away our marriage over one mistake?" And that's when it finally clicked. In her mind, the affair was an accident, something that happened to her, not something she chose. That told me more than any confession ever could. A week later, I went back to the apartment with my friend to get the rest of my things. She was sitting on the couch like she'd been waiting. When she saw me, her face lit up for half a second. Hope, and then fell apart when she realized I wasn't there to talk. She tried to hug me. I stepped back. She started crying, saying she finally understood what she did, that she'd change, that she'd do anything. I believed she was scared. I didn't believe she was different. I told her calmly, "You didn't lose me when I walked out. You lost me when you decided lying to me was easier than being honest." She didn't argue. She didn't defend herself. She just went quiet. I packed my clothes, my books, a few photos I couldn't bring myself to throw away yet. When I left, she stayed on the couch. She didn't follow me. The divorce took months, but emotionally, I had already crossed the finish line. Some days were still heavy. Some mornings I woke up reaching for someone who wasn't there anymore. But the pain felt real now, not poisoned by lies. And that made all the difference. Looking back, it wasn't the sex that destroyed the marriage. It was the manipulation, the gaslighting, the way she tried to make me doubt my own reality. That's what broke me. And that's what finally made me leave. If there's one thing I learned, it's this: trust your instincts. When something feels off, it usually is. Don't let someone rewrite your story to protect themselves. Love doesn't require you to ignore your gut. And loyalty isn't proven after you're caught. It's proven by what you do when no one is watching. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away.